So we have about 1,500 different partners whose technology we sell and support. And we take the best of what our customers are looking for, and then we install it in our lab where we create solutions. So if they're having a scenario where they need help, then we can recreate it in our lab, create real-world solutions so that we can do a proof of concept so they can see it in action. So it's a demonstration lab, and we probably have in excess of $5-6 million worth of technology that's being rotated in and out, and we'll create the solution. We'll take the best solutions from our manufacturing partners and we'll install it in our lab, and then customers can come to us and say, build this solution, let us get our hands on it, see if it works before we buy it.
These examples show are just a couple from the Department of Defense. So a lot of the, Army, Navy, Air Force, and Missile Defense Agency, and Space Force, the new command there. So this is a layered missile defense system that is implemented in the United States. So you can see there on the right, if there's a hypersonic threat, a weapon, you have the satellites up in space to detect it. You have ships on the sea with a program called Aegis, which is a missile deterrence system. So if it detects a threat and a target, it intercepts it halfway through. And so on the left side is all the programs tied into that layered missile defense program. And we support every one of these. And so these mostly are either direct with the government, or a lot of them are through the systems integrators such as Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman. Those are the systems integrators we work with that own these prime contracts to these. So if you think of, in real terms, when North Korea a few years ago was launching a bunch of missiles into South Korea, those were getting shot down. That was THAAD, Thermal High Altitude Air Defense System. That's through Lockheed Martin. You think of Iron Dome with Israel, right? All those missiles getting shot from Palestine get shot down. That was the same thing. And that's kind of how the U.S. has their missile defense system, them and Israel obviously as friendlies. So that's through IBCS program with the Army. And the Aegis one is the Navy's warfighting asset. And so that can be on a ship or it can be on a shore. And that's through Lockheed Martin as well. And so there's all kinds of different missiles depending on the threat. It has sensors to understand which one to shoot up and intercept. And so we continue to work with these programs and provide value from either a hardware fulfillment, from a solutioning to services, and all of these. And this spans across all of the Department of Defense. And you can see, that how they communicate, right, through Space Force. Then you have the Navy, then you have the Missile Defense Agencies, and then you have Air Force. And so that's our layered missile defense system that the United States has implemented, and we support, like I said, every one of those programs.
And do you work directly with Lockheed and
Correct.
Northrop Grumman and stuff?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So if I could, that's perfect. If I could just add to it, I'll show you how it flows. So as it says, today we have a layered active missile defense system. Tommy had highlighted all of the programs that go into this layered defense system. So if we just pick on a program like THAAD, so THAAD has a part of their program deals with sensors and all of the technologies that go into censoring that piece of the program. Then if you go a layer down, THAAD is represented here, and this is all the management communications pieces that actually allow the talking and the transfer of that data from that sensor. And then if you go one step down, the asset, which is actually the machine that collects and executes that piece of the program. And then the final piece is weapons. Not all pieces of programs include weapons, but obviously this one does. And these are the thermal high altitude area defense systems that Tommy was showing to complete that interception. So it's a layered defense system, and this really is carried out through all pieces of the federal government within the DoD, whether it's Army, Navy, Air Force, or Marines. But it's a perfect example of how the programs come together in order to execute the missile defense program.
Yeah, and kind of taking the next step, you think of it, okay, you have Army, Air Force, Space Force. How do they all communicate? And that's been a problem from the government for since forever, right? You have all kinds of different networks. How do you communicate all as one as a joint team, but then also keep that secure? So one of the biggest initiatives they have right now in the Department of Defense is called the Joint All-Domain Command and Control. That's called JADC2. And so basically what this does is, how do you create an infrastructure that senses, makes sense, and then actions real-time data, and then be able to disseminate that data to the Army, to the Air Force. So you have a plane out there or a drone getting information. How do you send that to the ship, to the soldier on the ground, back to the ground station, all those different things? How do you communicate all that together? So that's what this system is trying to do, and it's trying to do it across multi-domain, as you see there. So the maritime, everything with submarines and aircraft carriers and cruisers, to land-based assets, to air dominance, to cyberspace, which is obviously a huge thing. How do you keep everything secure? And then obviously space. That's been a huge initiative, is to own the space as well. And so where we're at with this, we're actually kind of at the tip of the spear on this. So it's new. They're kind of in the prototype phase, because they got to be able to test it and before they implement it across any command. And so we're aligned with a systems integrator that won an OTA to do a prototype for a data transport as a service. And we're the sole provider of that. And so we're taking that use case, because now all of a sudden the Air Force saw that it worked, and they're working with Navy, which on the Minotaur program, which is like a tactical intelligence processing program. And then that spills over into Project Convergence, which is the Army's version of it. So you see on the left side, the Advanced Battle Management System. That's the Air Force portion of JADC2. You have Overmatch, which is the Navy's portion. And then you have Army, which is the Convergence portion. So there's 3 programs all rolling up into one initiative. And so that's what we're working on, is one, doing proofs of concepts, and then getting that information out across to various branches of the military. And so we're really excited about this, because this is one of the most important initiatives that the DoD has right now. And like I said, we're kind of on the leading edge right now, working with the top OEMs, Dell, Cisco, on this. So
I'm
it's exciting
envisioning
times.
a servers networks that each branch can use to communicate, and software. Mm-hmm. Is that at all accurate?
Yeah, exactly. So you think, like here, say the Navy. So a lot of the unmanned, you think of a drone. That program is called the Triton Program. And so what that is you have a fleet of 62 Tritons in the air that fly at 60,000 feet. They can zoom in basically to the label of a cigarette, and it takes 360-degree views in maritime environments, for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Takes that information, well, then that information's got to go somewhere. So it goes to a ground station where it's analyzed. And so what we're working with Minotaur on is, when you analyze data, usually it's a lot of human capital. You need to look at all this video, but think of all that video being sent in there and the manpower to analyze that. So we're working on the tactical intelligence piece to understand, hey, what are we looking at? How can you analyze it faster and get it back out to everyone else out there in the field? And so it's super exciting. There's a lot of softwares that plug into that all of a sudden can identify what certain things are and then just filter out that other data. And so you think of if someone gets on a F-35 and they do a trip around, well, what's all that information? It's got to go somewhere. And you got to keep that secure, and you got to be able to analyze it quickly, and you got to be able to get it out to other commands. So it's a super exciting program that, like I said, we're on the front edge of it, and a lot more to come on that, but that's kind of where everyone's going.